Welcome, one and all, to the mystical world of Filbar. Adventures abound throughout this realm, and we appreciate the opportunity to regale you with some stories from these trails. These accounts are all based on actual RPG experiences that occurred within Adventures in Filbar. Some of these tales may be for mature audiences, while others may be for very immature audiences. We now present the sage Mikas Tumo from Tamel, also known as the Bard of Filbar.
Welcome to session Fartook-113. When last we were with our intrepid heroes, they safely arrived at the port city of Haddonfield and discovered passage back to Phoenix was possible. The downside was explained by Bulger, to wit, a vessel would not be available for 2 days. We rejoin the group as they make arrangements for their mounts, as they won't be needed further. The party stands before the stables marked Trusty Mount. I like that name. It makes me feel trusting, smirked Bulger the sailor. The others looked down at the chuckling gnome with disdain before Fargus Stoutheart remarked that it appeared to be a decent business. As the group stood at the corral entrance, an elf in loose-fitting leather pants approached the group and hailed them warmly. He nodded politely to Cabe Silvertongue before turning to address Lady Irena. The pair quickly fell into discussion in their racial tongue, making the mage smile. As the duo discussed a variety of topics, Sister Elaine leaned over to the bard and inquired as to the nature of the chatter. Cabe explained that the pair were getting to know one another and apparently grew up in the same region. They have yet to discuss the selling of the horses, as his nose wrinkled profusely. The party allowed Lady Irena to speak for several minutes before Sister Elaine loudly cleared her throat, cutting off the conversation. The mage blushed and apologized and returned to speak with the stable master. Lady Irena told the man that they were headed to Phoenix and would not be needing their mounts further. The elf understood and asked to examine the mounts in order to make an informed opinion. With a wave of her hand, Irena beckoned the man to make his investigation. Each mount was carefully inspected, and the stable master yelled out to a stout halfling who quickly came running up. A short discussion ensued, with the halfling opening the corral gate and leaping up onto Fargus's mount. Despite his diminutive size, the halfling expertly guided the horse quickly around several posts in the corral. A large smile on the handler upon his return indicated that the horse was more than satisfactory. For the next several minutes, the halfling took each mount through its paces and passed along his opinion on the value of the horses, and the two haggled over the details. As the party watched patiently, it became obvious that the halfling really liked Bulger's pony. The stable master approached the party and briefly spoke with Lady Irena, who smiled and nodded. The elf then addressed the group as a whole in the common tongue. "Greetings, friends. Lady Irena tells me that you are headed out on a sea voyage and wish to sell your horses." The group nodded as a whole, and the elf smiled broadly. "I would like to offer you the sum of 550 gold pieces for the lot, including the tack and saddles, of course." The group looked at each other until Cabe pointed out that they had paid 700 gold pieces for them, including one that was not present. "That is true, my bard friend. However, you have used them extensively, have you not?" inquired the stable master. Cabe conceded the point, but the elf stated that he would go up to 600 gold pieces, only because his associate really liked the pony. The party mulled it over, but told the businessman that 550 gold would be sufficient, and thanked him for his honesty. Lady Irena, using the common tongue, asked where suitable lodgings were in town, as they would be here a few days. The elf thought for a moment and pointed out that the Knight's Armor, or Clef's Inn, would probably be best for their purposes. Neither was overly expensive, and each had individual rooms available. The group thanked him for his helpfulness, but he stopped them as they began to leave with their gold. "Excuse me, my dear lady. If you are going to be in town for a few days, perhaps, if it is not rude, perhaps we could possibly have a meal together, say this evening." The group all turned at once to face with the mage, each intently staring at her. Flushed with embarrassment, she caught each one looking at her and began to glare at them. Her action garnered the reaction of all of them smiling at once. Attempting to compose herself, she smiled softly and nodded to the stable master. Speaking in a polite tone, the mage graciously accepted his offer and would return at mealtime to take him up on it. Smiling brightly, the elf bowed with a flourish and turned back to the purchased mounts in the corral. The party headed off to locate the suitable location given by the stable master. Bulger, Cabe, and Fargus, each mimicking the stable master and asking the other to dine with them. Their comments began to rile Lady Irena until Sister Elaine told them to pipe down. They had found the knight's armor inn. Entering the modest building, they sent Bulger up to deal with the innkeeper. A small bell sat on the ledge, and Bulger gave it a ring and was summarily surprised as a young gnomish woman with golden hair approached and spoke with him. Even to the other races, the young woman was quite attractive, and it quickly tied Bulger's tongue. Her polite inquiry was met with a near-drooling approach by the usually brash Delver. With her questions unanswered, the woman sheepishly smiled until Sister Elaine approached and inquired about rooms. The young woman admitted that she had 3 private rooms still available, but unfortunately that was all. She also suggested Clef's Inn as an alternative. I vote we, stay here, piped up Bulger finally. The party discussed the options, and it was decided that the ladies would head over to Clef's and obtain rooms there. It made sense that 3 males could utilize the 3 rooms here. The suggestion made Bulger smile brightly, but Cabe and Fargus pointed out that they would go with the females to make certain they had rooms. The former sailor stammered out that he would remain at this location to, secure the rooms. His suggestion brought a smile to the young woman, who handed him a key and pointed him out that it was right next to her room, before confirming that she would hold the other 2 rooms until Cabe and Fargus returned with confirmation. As she was speaking with the others, Bulger quickly spit in his hand and rubbed his tousled hair, but made his appearance only stranger. His companions watched in amazement as Bulger attempted to straighten out his attire and look more presentable, but the innkeeper spun around and caught him in the act. His self-promotion only caused a puzzled look to the gnomish female and made his associates guffaw loudly before leaving. "So, come here often?" inquired Bulger, but gave himself a head slap when he heard him say it out loud. The woman shook her head and told him not to try so hard. She pointed out that she saw very few of their people, and was always happy to meet more of her kind. She showed the adventurer to his room and told him that she would be back after taking care of a few things. He smiled and stumbled over his words, but thanked her graciously nonetheless. With a wink, the gnome female left Bulger alone in his room.
We close out this episode now and give you our thanks for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Bards Podcast. For everyone in Adventures of Filbar, thanks for listening.